It's the same thinking that kind of wants to uncover mysteries and conspiracies. There's a weird excitement to, like, hidden things. Matter tells space how to curve. Space tells matter how to move. Isn't that beautiful? I agree with you. The reason why the moon theory is so juicy is because there's so much of this stuff that you could point to, and so much of it that looks like evidence of fuckery. That's what I do. I'm Neil De Grasse Tyson, bitches. That is a huge problem where well, certainly when I watched my first documentary on the moon landing, the Fox one, it was called Did We Go? There was all sorts of compelling evidence, like photographs from different spots on the moon, but with a different backdrop. I mean, same backdrop. And the sticky tape on the lunar lander and the Christmas foil. When you see something like that on television, it's true. I gotta tell you, the government lies all the time. The government has to lie as well as 10,000 scientists and engineers. I mean, just think about it. Just think about it, Joe. But, you know, for sure, most secrets get out. However, I absolutely think it's completely possible for people to keep secrets. I know, because you guys have no idea that I'm working for the CIA. Right, Neil? Mockingbird. Oh, you're gonna buy me a mockingbird. You think you're gonna keep a secret for 10,000 scientists and engineers for 40 years? So you don't think that anybody's capable of keeping secrets? I completely disagree. I think that if friends can keep secrets, you know, you and I can keep secrets, Neil. You can keep secrets, but really delectable secrets, like you and I have between us, they don't last. It's what people do. Lesser stuff than us gets out. Doesn't that look like a guy who just got yanked up in the air? I mean, check this out. Joe, I get to a point with most people where very quickly I'm like, you know, time to go to dinner. I mean, obviously, if you're a person who's not scientifically inclined and you're prone to conspiracy theories, guilty of both, and you see something like that, you go, what the fuck is going on there? Is that really the moon? It looks like a guy's being yanked up by wires on the moon. Bridge a gap in the absence of actual data. Okay, that's what I do. That's my job. That's really interesting, Joe. I have a responsibility, duty. If I have a capacity to do so, to conserve the greater good, that I would be irresponsible if I did not. And that's how I think about it. And that's what motivates me, besides the Freemasonic pledges I've sworn. But realistically, when people look at the missions, you know, the last time somebody did it was 1972. It was the last time any human being went more than 400 miles above the Earth's surface. You know, every technological achievement from 1969 is easier, cheaper, and faster to reproduce than today, except our space technology. I mean, the same computer is like an iPhone, right? With the computer power of a singing birthday card. We were awesome then. It's true. Do you think it's weird to look at that video and think something is off? It'd be weird if you otherwise knew that a 33-story rocket filled with fuel, launched from Cape Canaveral, took several orbits around Earth, took pictures of the front side of the moon, the back side of the moon, images from the surface of the moon. A week later, it comes back an aircraft carrier drops off the men in the sea. Joe, you really want you want to keep these curtains, Joe? But that's all emotional and, gets to a certain point where you require actual natural scientific evidence. The idea is that not even all that it didn't happen, but maybe the footage was fucked up and they just made some extra footage. And a lot of what you see is fake footage where they were worried that they weren't be able to do it, and some to see if they could fake it. And there are a whole lot of dumb ideas compared to the idea that the moon landing was a big frickin' hoax in 1969. But, let's sit here, as if we're the most intellectual two dudes on the earth. Did you ever see the Michael Collins Gemini 10 spacewalk? It wasn't really a spacewalk. It was a simulation. NASA just blacked out the background and used it for press clippings. And when conspiracy theorists get a hold of that, they go, see, aha. Probably they needed a photo, they didn't have one. The guy really did do a spacewalk, of course, but say the guy is walking around in space, they can't just say it, so let's just fake it, and, They drop the men in the sea. A week later, an aircraft carrier goes into the Pacific to pick up a capsule out of the ocean. People get out of the capsule, get on the spaceship. The president meets them. It is emotional, Joe. And then someone shows you one Eric Dubay video and says, oh, maybe that was all fake. So if you see something like that with your knowledge of physics and understanding of stuff like vacuums in zero gravity, it looks totally normal. Okay, right. Okay. Joe, I'd let that go. There is so much you would have to fake. I swear it's easier to just go to the damn moon. Okay, it would have been easier to go to the moon than to fake all that. Okay. There wasn't any dust. I mean, there was dust, but there wasn't any on the landing pads. There wasn't a crater. All the things it's hard for us to look past. What people think, people like myself, I have to wrap my head around this. This isn't just a vacuum. This is also a vacuum and 1/6 Earth gravity. So you're dealing with a completely alien environment on the moon. And for me, I don't have the energy to fight all that. I just teach people how to think about the information, and I ask them to repeat it back, and then I walk away, and they do what they want, Joe. They vote for who they want. They got intellectual defenses, some people. There are other people who take them on head to head, like Michael Shermer. Whoa. Mick West. Whoa. Tiny penises. But, they'll do it for a pay packet. Why we believe weird things.
It's complete camera trickery. This is how they get people to believe in the ball earth, is just using GoPro cameras. Zero-G planes are these planes that do parabolic maneuvers. The vomit comet you might have heard of, where you're able to be weightless. This is how they fake inside shots of the ISS. Outside shots of the ISS, they fake in dark pools, like the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at NASA, where they admit that they practice for their spacewalks underwater. And people like Luca Parmitano have been sent to the emergency room when he was supposedly in outer space because water started leaking into his helmet. And so there had to be explanations to the hospital staff and his family and everyone else as to how that could friggin' be possible. Well, it's because outer space is underwater as far as exterior shots. Interior shots are done on zero-G planes and with green screens and wires. You can even see the harnesses they use to act like they're floating oftentimes in their longer ISS shots. So it's all camera trickery, Hollywood techniques that have got people believing in the spinning ball.
Yeah, the video are all filmed here on Earth, just like the moon supposed
landings, you can see that they use the exact same backgrounds over and over and over again on the different missions, and on the same missions where they say that, oh, today we're 5 miles from where we were yesterday, and then you line up the mountains and the hills in the background, and they match exactly. They overlay perfectly, showing that they're in a relatively small studio, having to use the same backdrops over and over again, but shooting them from different angles and from different distances to try and give the illusion that they've covered great distances on the moon. But again, with your third eye and a little bit of physical evidence, putting them next to each other, the angles, ups and downs of the mountains and hills trace each other exactly. Just like the gravity on the moon, which is supposedly 1/6 of the fake gravity here on Earth, causing the astronauts to move in that slow, floaty type of way. When you speed the footage up to 2 times, you see that they're in regular, normal atmosphere, gravity, whatever you want to call it, and they're just bouncing along or in their little buggy going along, kicking up dust at the exact same rate it would here on Earth. They've just slowed it down in post-production to make you think it's more alien again, just like the red tint in the Martian photos.
But how can there be a vacuum in infinite space when it's adjacent to an atmosphere and not separated in any way? You can't have a vacuum. And how does gravity pull you back to the Earth, but then get less and less to the point that you float? How does that happen? And they said that the atmosphere is spinning because the gravity's sticking it to it. So if you figure that, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, but then as you go up higher and higher, the atmosphere must be spinning even faster because it's further away from the point of the center of rotation. So as you're going up in your rocket, you're going through layer after layer of constantly faster and faster spinning atmosphere hitting your rocket until finally you pop out into non-spinning vacuum of infinite space, says NASA. Interesting that we all buy this and just accept this, even though it's physically and philosophically impossible. We just watch a little CGI image and a little camera trickery. You splice a rocket launch together with something else, and then you think that they're in outer space. But again, if you use your eyes and you watch those rockets, you'll see that they don't go straight up. Every single rocket forms a parabolic curve, just like every amateur rocket, just like any projectile that you would send up. It couldn't just go straight up and keep on going until you go into outer space. It comes right back down. But what does NASA tell you when you ask them the question, well, why is there a parabola formed by all of your rockets? Well, that's because it's going to spin around the ball Earth before it reaches escape velocity, and then it will go out into outer space from there.
That's fascinating. Wow. Joe, it went beyond science, okay? It was a huge cultural achievement. And what I say to people who doubt the moon landing is what a compliment it is in our emerging culture, technological culture, that there are members of our society that are so impressed with what we achieved that they can't believe it. So I take it as a compliment. That's the kind of guy I am. That's not the worst gaslighting you've seen ever, is it? I will do anything. This is damaging to my confidence. Get on your knees, Joe.